What's up, everyone? It's Shaft, aka That Mill Guy, coming at you with a video that I've been meaning to do for a bit. Actually, well, relatively recently, I've been really kind of thinking about doing it, and it's culminated from a couple of factors in terms of what people have been talking to me about, some recent bannings and introductions in other formats, blah, blah, blah. And some of you might be looking at the title and thumbnail and think, I don't know, I'm sponsored by Wizards or whatever, and just I'm a shill. No. Look, hear me out. I'm not trying to convince y'all of anything. I'm actually just trying to address a problem that I've been seeing. So before we hop into that, I want to let you know that as you're watching this video right now, I've actually launched my merch. That's right, through Streamlabs, I'm finally doing That Mill Guy merch, and it's pretty bare bones, couple of articles of clothing, and you know what, just let me know what you think. Link down below. If you purchase something, so be it. If you want to see something else, comment section or wherever you have me on social media, let me know what you want to see through it. But anyway, I'm excited to finally have it out there. Let's hop into the video here. Why am I talking about Magic Arena to a primarily modern audience that I have? Well, I've been seeing some problems. And it's been stemming from the rise of Modern Mill as a tier 1 strategy. Now, why would that create a problem? Heck, I don't know. Why did that create a problem? I think it's because of the fact that, well, with the introduction of Ruin Crab and Zendikar Rising, we have seen that the meta has responded very well. And that's just par for the course. That's something that comes with the idea of Mill finally being a tier 1 strategy. And that's something that a lot of players haven't really been okay with. A lot of shuffle effects have been introduced. I'm thinking of cards like Gaia's Blessing have been introduced in the green decks as a way to counter the Mill strategy. And we have also been seeing the rise of some of our less favorable matchups. Obviously, Prowess has always been around, but I'm primarily thinking of decks like Humans or Death and Taxes that have been making the rounds. But at least with Death and Taxes, what's nice, for all of you Mill players out there, because they've dropped the black parts or the Eldrazi parts of the game plan and opted for more of a Stoneforge Mystic primary plan and a Skyclave Apparition interactive plan, removal's a lot better against them. So I wouldn't be terribly worried. It's actually a lot better of a matchup than it was before. Regardless though, a lot of people have been not feeling that motivated or not been feeling that great about playing Modern right now, or playing Mill in general. They've been finding that a lot of people have the answers to it, and it's not really that sneaky sleeper deck that it used to be. And that's not what I'm here to convince you of. You know what? I understand that. As someone who plays Mill almost day in and day out, whenever I play Magic, I don't even play any other decks at this point. I used to be able to jam some other decks, but I played in almost every other format, and I understand it through the lens of just archetype fatigue in general. But luckily enough, I'm a bit of a psychopath, and I just like flipping decks in general. So it's if I get tired of it, I just play another game. I don't play Magic. Regardless, some of you may not have that option. You do want to see a Magic. You don't have many other things to turn to. So in that case, some of you have actually turned to other archetypes. I'm thinking of Pioneer, where I've done a couple of videos on it, the traumatized combo deck that ideally has been boosted with something like Maddening Cacophony, but I haven't gone around to exploring it just because there's been a lot of discourse around Pioneer being almost dead again. Not a lot of people have been saying it, and that's the problem, because not a lot of people actually play the format anymore. So, but a lot of you have also opted to look into other formats such as Legacy or Vintage. In Legacy, you could be playing cards like Brain Freeze and Blue Shells with Force of Will to help out-tempo or out-value your fellow blue strategies, and obviously you have the regular tools at hand to beat some of the unfair combo decks with your counter magic. Or you could be looking to something like Vintage, where you take advantage of Ruin Crab and Hedron Crab in conjunction with Fast Bond to make infinite landfalls. And obviously with Vintage, it primarily has that Pioneer problem where it's not that people are disinterested in Vintage, they just primarily see it as too powerful a format, it's too dead, it's just not a lot of people playing it. Whereas Pioneer is just like not very powerful and people aren't playing it. So kind of opposite ends of the spectrum in a way. But with Legacy, I kind of see it as a Modern 2.0 in the sense that the people that are playing Legacy are very enfranchised. There's a lot of very invested players. They love Legacy. It's a very diverse format. It may not have the numbers that Modern does, but a lot of the player base plays it. It's a very daunting format to get into. Very powerful, lots of interactions that aren't really intuitive in Magic. If you ever wondered what an unintuitive Magic card is, look at Chains of Mephistopheles. Yikes. Okay, I'm not gonna act like I know what that card does properly all the time, but a lot smarter players will. Regardless, it's hard to feel motivated to play Mill in a lot of other formats just because you don't want to learn another format, something's too underpowered, and really just Modern's not doing it for you. Well, finally getting to the thesis of the video here and connecting it to the title of the video, I'm here to tell you as an enfranchised Modern player why, or enfranchised Mill player, why it's finally time for you to install the Magic Arena client and succeed to whole new levels with Mill. Well, why? How? The Arena client, many of you are already aware of it already. It's the premier esports client that Wizards has been pushing. Lots of tournaments have been happening with it recently, and it's really just been pushing a lot of bannings out because a lot more games have been being played, and that plays in Mill's favor. If you've been watching some of my streams, within maybe like an hour, I can get out usually 2 games, sometimes 3. There's a lot of games to be played, there's a lot of Magic to be played, but in Arena, there's just so many games being played. It's so much faster. The client is a lot more intuitive, games just happen a lot quicker, and obviously some of that has to do with the format in general, a lot more tempo-y. It's very clear when someone loses, or I don't know, that's what I find. In Modern, you can always turn around, in Legacy, you can always turn around something like that, but with the format specifically, in this case, with the fast-paced nature of it, with the ability to play more games, it's a lot, I think, a lot more welcoming to play Mill in these formats. But we don't need welcoming. We need the fact that Mill is good, and I'm here to confirm that Mill is a tier 1 archetype in Standard right now. And there's 3 ways you can approach Mill right now, which is great. If you had a different playstyle, you can try one of those decks out and kind of swap in between because a lot of the pieces are similar. You have the traditional Mill list. Ruin Crab is a legal Magic card. Maddening Cacophony is a legal Magic card. We have Teferi's Tutelage doing a cute impression of Sphinx's Tutelage. All of these are great Mill payoffs in Standard. We have a lot of removal. Remember that Drown in the Lock is the premier removal spell for Mill right now. So you start to see some of the parallels, and even Pioneer Mill decks even. You see a lot of the parallels there. And if you weren't looking for something maybe a little bit more traditional, something low to the ground, maybe you like attacking, maybe you like thinking outside the box, you like playing Jace's Phantasm, well, you have Dimir Rogues, which is arguably, out of the 3 I'm going to mention, the most played, most viable Mill strategy in Standard right now. Very low to the ground, attacking with small creatures, recursion through Luros, and a lot of the Mill plan is more so a means to an end. It's not the primary plan, just because a lot of your creatures are buffed by having cards in your opponent's graveyard, but of course, if you can't attack through, just mill them out. That's always, a very viable secondary plan. You are playing Ruin Crabs and stuff like that, so take advantage of it. Finally, that last archetype that you can be playing in Standard right now with Mill as a win condition is Dimir Control. So the 2 primary win conditions in Dimir Control: Shark Typhoon, which Shark beats. Classic control win condition. We've been seeing it in Modern. But also, Ashiok Nightmare Muse. That's right. One of my favorite, low-key favorite planeswalkers that's been printed recently. I believe it's like 1 mana off being Modern considerable, not playable, Modern considerable, 1 mana off, but in Standard, it's an all-star. It creates attackers and blockers that interacts in another way. So a lot of creatures you would look to, provide hand disruption, but in this case, deck disruption that works with Ashiok's ultimate, and it interacts with the board and opponent's hand. Fantastic top end card. So with all the removal, all the interaction, you slam one of these at the end, you just take over the game. Fantastic, very, in all ways, truest to the control decks that we've been seeing of old, with now all the control decks in Modern having so many different win conditions. It's nice to see something that's very hard control in a lot of its ways, just trying to have a variety of answers. So if you were a fan of kind of holding back Drown in the Locks and holding back your removal instead of milling in Modern, kind of that style, Dimir Control is definitely more for you. So other than Standard, what if you didn't want to play the rotating format? What if you wanted to try something else? Well, this is personally my favorite format, Historic. Now, I don't even know if this is a hot take anymore, but if you have the resources and the time to invest in a Magic Arena, I see no reason why you should be playing Pioneer over Historic. I said it. Historic is so interesting as to how it injects cards into the format. It has the standard plus legality. It doesn't rotate. It's an eternal format. But Wizards, for those of you unfamiliar with the format, injects cards in the format through these anthologies. So like these 10 to 15 cards throughout Magic's history. Like Historic randomly got Thoughtseize injected into the format. Like random, big payoffs such as Phyrexian Obliterator. Not standard legal and hasn't been since Arena came out, but injected into Historic as a payoff. So Historic is super interesting, super powerful. And why do I bring that up? Well, you start to see, I was talking about parallels in Standard, but you start to see more parallels in some of the archetypes that you might be playing in Pioneer and even Modern right now. Let's talk about the Dimir Mill deck that I've been using to grind up the ladder right now. And, just past gold, before filming this video, just an hour ago, with this Dimir Control deck playing Thoughtseize, Ashiok Dream Render, we got Cling to Dust, we got Ruin Crab, we got Maddening Cacophony, and the icing on the cake, because Wizards of the Coast did not want to give us Fraying Sanity in Amonkhet Remastered, we have Bruvak. That's right, Fraying Sanity on a stick. Literally Fraying Sanity on a creature as a 1/4. Not really relevant in Historic right now, but it dodges Bolt, so that's kind of nice in some of the Eternal formats like Legacy. But you can live your traumatized dreams in Historic as well. So through your milling, through your interaction, you're exiling your opponent's graveyard. Crocs is a pretty powerful Magic card right now, so to have that main board graveyard hate is fantastic. On top of the interaction like Drown, you have the instant win condition of Bruvak as well. So why wouldn't you want to play this deck? You even have a parallel to Visions of Beyond in something like Into the Story. Obviously it's not 1 mana, but hey look, drawing 4 cards at instant speed with just having 7 cards in your opponent's graveyard? Not that bad, especially in a slower format, right? Historic isn't a turn 4 format, goes on a lot longer, so you have the time. It's almost a parallel there. And even for you Sultai players out there, that's right, I have something for you as well. Sultai Mill is a deck in Historic. We're talking about Uro, Assassin's Trophy, all the works there. We even have Scapeshift. That's right, why not sacrifice all your lands, get your landfall triggers for your Ruin Crabs, get your Ibnu Rivulets out of there with your Bruvak on the battlefield, Uro on the battlefield, whatever, and just go off. That's right, you can literally just be playing almost Sultai Mill in Historic right now. Fantastic there. So I don't know if I've managed to convince you onto installing the Arena client, but I think the thesis really just is that if you don't install the client, if you don't even want to play the tier 1 decks right now, I hope you consider it. Because ultimately, I think the one thing holding you back might just be the economy. And I think that's where I want to end this off. I can't defend the MTG Arena economy. It's very different from Paper Magic and MTGO, where in MTGO where you can actually buy singles. You can rent tier 1 decks, tier 1 legacy, modern, standard decks, just $30 a month off Mana Traders. You can't do that in Arena, unfortunately. And the wildcard system, while it's good, it was much better with the introduction of Arena, but now with sets getting larger and larger and larger, the number of sets getting larger and larger, it's hard to have all the cards you need. So obviously, time will tell if Wizards is able to fix that through maybe a dusting system or a trade-in system, whatever, and we'll see what that means. But ultimately, if you have the resources, as I mentioned before, this is the best time to invest into MTG Arena and reignite that Mill flame and find that Mill is a tier 1 archetype in almost every format that Magic has to offer, so you can't go wrong wherever you want to play Mill in Magic right now. And I mean, obviously, with that in mind, we obviously are going to be seeing more arena content on the channel, and I want to use this video as a bit of a transition into that. And just look out for that, more exploring mills going into historic, into arena, and I'm super excited for that as well. I'm happy to be back into the arena client. And of course, if you want to see even more of that, some behind the scenes stuff, early content, and you just want to help keep the quality high and the lights on, the Patreon is where you want to join. You're gonna help make me look this fabulous with all this stuff on. And again, ask me whenever you need to for your help with these arena deck lists. And of course, if you even wanted sideboard guides, I will be introducing a historic sideboard guide to my Patreon soon. So if you are on the arena client, this is the perfect time for you to join. Link down below. Now that's really going to be where I'm going to end it off. Let me know what you thought of the video. Let me know what you think. If you had any questions about the arena client, maybe you had some questions about some of the deck lists or the decks that I was talking about, leave it down below in the comment section. But of course, I'm going to leave it there. Remember that even the impossible is possible. And as we ponder that thought, I hope you'll join me next time as we take a glimpse into the unthinkable.